My fear is that they will be pushed for more wards. They will be pushed for more LLGs. Why? Because they come with more money.
Everyone left the stations and districts and migrated to the urban centers.
While we talk about the size of an LLG in a district as it relates to provincial and local level government, we don't provide service to tree and mountain. We provide services to people.
Minister for Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 222B, I now commence the first required opportunity for debate.
Make your speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is with greatest respect and profound sense of duty that I rise before this honorable House today to present the proposed amendments to Organic Law on Provincial Government and Local Level Government 1995. These changes reflect our government's ongoing commitment to transferring powers, strengthen governance, accountability, and service delivery mechanisms at sub-national levels. Mr. Speaker, these amendments also emanate from a series of provincial government conferences held over the last 2 years with strong recommendation for certain national functions to be delegated to provincial governments as part of greater decentralization of national powers and functions to sub-national level governments for effective service delivery and promoting self-reliance and greater autonomy. Justification for amendments to specific sections of Organic Law on Provincial Governments and Local Level Governments 1995. Mr. Speaker, Section 27 is amended by repealing subsection 1A and replacing it with the following. 1A, where city authority is established in an area under Section 33B, an urban local level government that existed in the area ceased to exist and its powers and functions are subsumed into city authority. And subsection 4B is also repealed to allow the boundaries of local level government to be confined to one open electorate. Mr. Speaker, a new section 33B is intended to provide for enabling provisions in Organic Law on Provincial Governments and Local Level Governments for enhancement of city authorities legislation, city authorities legislation. Currently, there is no provision in Organic Law that allows for Parliament laws to create city authorities. There are challenges currently faced since the establishment of city authorities or cities like Lae, Mount Hagen, and Kokopo. Thus, this provision legally strengthened this establishment. Mr. Speaker, a new Section 33C is intended to get provincial governments and district development authorities to enter into service delivery partnership agreements to implement impact projects in the districts and to align and integrate district plans into provincial plans, making planning, budgeting, resource implementation, monitoring, and evaluation and reporting easier, thus ensuring visibility of impact projects and services that achieve value for money. Mr. Speaker, Section 34 is amended to clearly state in Organic Law that terms of local level governments is 5 years. An election to the local level government must be conducted 30 months after the conduct of national election to the National Parliament. The 30 months time period is to allow PNG Electoral Commission to sort out any issues arising out of conduct of national elections. Mr. Speaker, Section 73 is amended to give powers to Provincial Executive Council to appoint and revoke appointment of provincial administrators. This is one of the major shifts by Marape Rossel government to further empower the provincial governments through the decentralization agenda to make ownership of their issues and development challenges. This will be done in accordance with recommendations from Public Service Commission to ensure merit-based appointments are done. Service Improvement Program, or SIP, to provincial governments, DDAs, LLGs and wards will be mandatory by law and will be given through budgetary appropriation regardless of which side of the House MP sits. Mr. Speaker, further under this funding arrangement, the national government will allocate a minimum of 20 million to each provincial governments, 10 million to each district, which is the current practice. Further, 250,000 to each LLGs and 30,000 to each ward in the country. And this funding is allocated irrespective of political affiliation of elected representatives. All the amounts stated are minimal, as countries' cash flow increases or any increases NEC decides, then the amount can increase. This is one of the most important provisions included to fairly distribute the wealth of the country to every province, district, cities, LLGs, and wards. Mr. Speaker, Section 98 is amended to allow for percentage of development levies under Section 98 to be given to DDAs in which natural resource projects are developed. This percentage is to be determined at the Development Forum. Mr. Speaker, local level government is a legal entity that participates at Development Forum when natural resource is developed in the district. DDA being implementing agents of LLG must be given percentage of levies to implement LLG policies and projects. This can be achieved by Memorandum of Agreement or Memorandum of Understanding during the Development Forum. Mr. Speaker, the new subsection 2 is the enabling provisions that allow for DDAs to get certain percentage of levies, and details should be captured in MOA or MOU. Mr. Speaker, Section 119 is amended to strengthen Ministers' role in ensuring compliance in the submissions of annual performance report by provincial government and local level governments. More powers and functions will now be decentralized to provincial governments. The accountability on performance of these functions must be strengthened at sub-national levels. Mr. Speaker, this amendment represents a vital step towards strengthening our legislative framework on decentralization and responding to evolving needs of our people. In essence, amendments to organic law will, beside others, will ensure that wealth and resources of the nation is fairly and equally distributed to our provinces, districts, cities, LLGs, and wards in the country by ensuring that unconditional grants for service improvement programs are mandatory by law and given to our provinces, districts, LLGs, wards, regardless of where our elected representatives sit on this floor of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, finally, I must also make it quite clear that these amendments are done with good intention and in the interest of our nation. And so may I now respectfully ask the consideration of all the members of this Parliament to support these amendments. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Governor Fuik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand on behalf of the people of Isipik, and I think all peoples who feel marginalized in the country. And I stand to thank the minister and to support him. In my almost 8 years in Parliament, Mr. Speaker, I have been urging two different governments to empower local government so that empowerment can lead to perhaps transformational communities so that our country can move forward. Let me also acknowledge some of our founding fathers who are seated in the speakers gallery, and particularly my good friend Warren Dutton. It's good to see you, sir. It's been a while. And to also say that I think many of our past leaders have sought similar amendments in the arrangements between national and subnational government so that we can get better outcomes, Mr. Speaker. One of the issues that I find is still lacking and will need some more work, and before I say that, I wish to also place on record that this is perhaps the most substantial amendment to the 1995 law since it was created. So let me just again further acknowledge the work of Minister Soroy, and to put on record the gratitude of the people of ECP, because I think changes such as this, even though we need greater changes to help us move forward, I think this takes us one step of the way forward rather than going back all the time. There is still a need, Mr. Speaker, for some kind of an equalization grant. And I say this because there is a tendency in government to fund the mechanisms, not so much to take into account the size of some of our electorates. And particularly, North Fly is 21,800 square kilometers. Middle Fly is 44,000 square kilometers. We have provinces that are smaller than some of these districts. South Fly is 31,800 kilometers square. The biggest in Isipik is Engoram, 17,000 square kilometers. I place on record that Engoram is bigger than the autonomous region of Bougainville. It is bigger than New Ireland. It is bigger than Manus. It is bigger than Enga. It is bigger than Southern Highlands. It is bigger than Jiwaka. It is bigger than Western Highlands. Some of these districts are huge, Mr. Speaker. Hela as well. It's bigger than Hela. So these four districts I have mentioned, Mr. Speaker, they have the greatest opportunity for growth in our country because of their sheer size. But North Fly, Engoram, Middle Fly, and South Fly receive less money, and with great respect, I'm just using it as an example, than, say, Mosby South. And I'm just speaking, no offense. No offense. And even Mosby Northwest. They receive more money for development than these four districts that I have singled out as an example. Now, Mr. Speaker, one of the comments, and I say that again respectfully, Prime Minister, the Prime Minister always says, those of the provinces that can make enough money, we will consider you for autonomy. I want to change the thinking of government and suggest that perhaps you should help those provinces to make more money so they can ask for autonomy.
By way of this policy.
The country can only be strong if the provinces are strong. And I want to place on record my great excitement and my commendations to the leaders of Papua for the declarations that you made yesterday. It is about time some of our people recognize the importance of autonomy. Autonomy does not necessarily mean independence. It means that you give the different ethnic groups their opportunity for development on their own terms. This country cannot develop if we continue to try to manage it from the center. It hasn't worked in 50 years. If it has, we wouldn't be having these conversations, Mr. Speaker. So, I commend the Minister, I commend the government for relenting, and I ask for a change of thinking from the Cabinet. Support all of us so that the provinces can become strong to support the national government, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday I met with a group of investors from China, and today they are flying to Fuik to invest in the Nunguaya Bongos area of my province, which is some of our most remote. It is a struggle to convince investors to invest simply because we don't have the ability. And I note some of the concerns raised by our senior leader and the member for Abao in relation to the projects that he wanted to do in his area. We lack the capability to support these people. The group that is on its way to Nunguaya Bongos between Wasara and Ambunti Dreki Kia, they intend to invest $500 million, Mr. Speaker. I have another investor that wishes to put in about 10 billion, and I'm working with the good Minister for Planning, the Honorable Ano Pala, to try to bring that to fruition. Again, this is in response to the government's direct challenge for provinces to raise your own revenue. Mr. Speaker, I note our former leaders and our founding fathers, some of whom are sitting in the gallery today. They spoke here on similar matters, and now, 50 years later, you have another leader and other leaders who are concerned about the same issues. How is our country going to look 50 years from now if we do not take these brave steps to bring in the changes that our people need? We've got to strengthen provincial governments. We've got to strengthen national governments so that when leaders like those who are in the gallery leave, when leaders like myself leave, Mr. Speaker, when the voices that are here raising these important issues leave, who else gets to drive the country forward with these important considerations? Lastly, I want to just say to the good Minister the challenges that I see. One of the challenges I see with the locking in of funding to districts, to LLGs and to wards is a concern that I raised last week in relation to 500 new wards being created in certain parts of the country, and the good Prime Minister gave an undertaking that he would bring to the floor where those wards are being created. My fear is this: when we create new districts, when we create new LLGs, and when we create new wards, it's simply to get more money or to get more members of parliament. And this is the fear. We need to understand the methodology, and there needs to be a more robust process, Mr. Speaker. When I became governor of East Sepik, the East Sepik province had 28 local level governments, and it had 667 wards, and that was from the time of Somare. Today, as I stand here, East Sepik still has 28 local level governments, and it still has 667 wards. There's been no increase, Mr. Speaker. And even though we are in the process of trying to split some of our LLGs because they are too big, we have not endeavored to create new wards. So on behalf of the people of East Sepik, I am wondering, what is the rationale for other provinces creating new districts, creating new LLGs, and creating particularly 500 new wards? And now that all of this comes with constitutionally guaranteed funding, my fear is that they will be pushed for more wards. They will be pushed for more LLGs. Why? Because they come with more money. So I would urge through you, Mr. Speaker, the good minister, to build in safeguards so that we don't get new wards and new LLGs created just because we get more money and just because it might affect the outcome of a district election. We need to be very careful because some people have been able to outsmart government systems. So by creating new wards, they give themselves more voters. So it is a danger that I wanted to flag because based on my own experience sitting as chair of the Special Committee on Elections, these are some of our findings. That some people have figured out how to create new wards to get more votes. So I urge the government to be cautionary and to build in safeguards. We cannot skew things so that they suit our individual desires and our individual ambitions. Mr. Speaker, with that, I commend the bill, I thank the Minister, and I give you my full support. Thank you.
The Honourable Governor for Northern Province.
I also wish to just add a few comments in regards to this bill and commend the Minister. He has been a very active Minister for this particular ministry since he has taken office. We all agree with this. He has been engaging with governors and has taken our agendas and transformed them into realities, including this bill that he has brought here. I also wish to commend the Maraparoso government, of which I am a part of. When we took office in 2019, all of us, including some of my colleagues on that side, were very supportive because the good Prime Minister insisted that the provincial governments would be an area of concern for him, and he would ensure that provincial governments are strengthened and become more relevant. But good Prime Minister, whilst this is happening from the perspective of the Department of Provincial Level and Local Level Governments, some other ministries are not taking this agenda on board, and I would like you to spend time with them to encourage them to do so. And I'll elaborate as I go along in my few comments that I wish to make here. But first and foremost, I think that it's an opportune time for us, now that we are approaching the 50 years mark, to review the 95 reforms that took place some 30 years ago and what impact it has had on our nation, good and bad. I think largely bad, some good. This decision to fix something that wasn't broken has caused a lot of problems for many provinces. And all you have to do is drive around anywhere in Papua New Guinea to any district or station and you see the dilapidated states of these districts and stations. And they all started to decline after the reforms. And then they encouraged urban drift. Everyone left the stations and districts and migrated to the urban centers, placing huge burdens on very limited infrastructure and services, and then causing the ethnic unrest of which we are discussing on front page newspapers and seeing. Our people are looking for opportunities, and they had these opportunities in their districts and their stations prior to 95. What happened? What happened with these reforms that led to this significant nationwide urban drift trend, which we are all witnessing? So I would say that this government, perhaps through this particular ministry, needs to carry out this review of these reforms. Find out what worked, what didn't work. And if we have to revert back to some systems that were working, then why not? Why not? I, for one, think that perhaps governors should return to their provinces and be premiers, run their provinces. And then we should have perhaps regional representatives representing those provinces and form a bicameral house. And those regional representatives can, besides representing their regions or their provinces, can also perform the duties of running parliamentary committees, which are very important and need the attention, permanent attention, of members of parliament. These are discussions we have to have going forward the next 50 years. What's the next 50 years going to look like? And as for some of the points I noted in here, funding for LLG, I think this is a great step in the right direction. There was funding for LLG, it was taken away, it was brought back. I think we should leave funding for LLG alone. Let it be permanent funding for the LLG. But put in place mechanisms so that they report and they acquit their funds. They have to be educated sufficiently so that they know what they're supposed to be doing. I want to also propose that we consider national government focusing on developing standards and policies, monitoring provinces, seeing how they perform in the maintaining of these standards and the implementation of these policies at the provincial government level. Rather than Waigani running to provinces and districts, carrying out its activities often without the knowledge of the districts or provinces. And I want the good Minister for Mining to take note, the good Minister for Petroleum to take note. These are the two areas which this seems to happen all the time, where you have wardens' hearings being conducted without the knowledge of the district or the province. All by going to kisim sambla kain mumut na, big dog na talk also more conducting wardens' hearing ya. Next minute all give license na permit lo here na mibla lo province mibla ino sabe, district tu ino sabe. Ay. No lendo na all talk lendo na man ends around the backside lo Borogo post office no lendo na true. Mas go kam lo Waigani one time Manila folder na karam kain proposal lo kon na. And talk em lendo na yubla hurry through na maki mem. Na in a long time, one kind of agreement, one kind contract, you come up now, line lo Papa Grand through the place, all the sabe. All karab nungu de, ay, one mining company come up now, all the who said tell him you come? No, me blacks in permit law, Waigani and black come. Warden cheering, me bla holim law here. Look at what warden cheering come up. The blacks in all mumut now, all Magani and bot me bla to give up Niki warden cheering. This block kind passing must stop. And you can transfer these responsibilities back to the provinces. We know who our landowners are. We can carry out these social mapping exercises at the district level, at the provincial level, involve the district member, involve the provincial government. They must be involved in these negotiations. They're our resources after all. So we should have a say about our resources. Gas, gold, nickel, cobalt, whatever it is. So I think we should focus on making this a reality going forward into the next 50 years so that we can all participate in the economic development of our nation. I want to just make a comment here about GST. Right now, GST is carved out in such a way that I believe the percentage is 60-40. 60-40. And that's not even a real agreement. There's no law that says that we should be given 40% or 60% and national government should you need to go and review these laws and these policies. That's not even real. And it's unfair to small provinces. It is. I would pledge, or I would propose, that 100% be given to the small provinces, the small economies. A bulk of the GST returns are collected in Leh and Port Moresby. Because most of these companies that are operating in this country are headquartered there. Very little is actually making it to the provinces. Allow the provinces to collect their own taxes. And those taxes can then make it back to the districts and stations and fund their upkeep, fund their water and power and law and order. Right now there's no funds going to the districts and stations. That's why all the man will come to town here, come to city here, or come like some settlement. Still in the ground the government or still in Pinis now or still in ground the proper ground too. So me proposal say me must look 100% GST must go to legal provinces. Blomi am number one antap mito. Kasi my dear blomi. Now Sambla Ligli province, where you can give him also responsibilities, also power, wara, so that all can collect him revenue blow yet, na look out him all yet, give him back law. Give him back law. But you will manage him standard, na policies lo yellow, waigani. Now me like to thank you through law, minister law, accept him proposal blambla also kokora by come up one town, no longer station. So on behalf of me na good member of Lomilo Sohe, if I talk big, thank you through the government. We intend to build Kokora station into a township, a tourism town. It is one of the largest tourist destinations in PNG, and we have been doing that. We've sealed all the roads. We're bringing water and power back. Instead of going to Cairns, some of you can fly to Kokora. It's only 20 minutes. And some of you who need to walk should walk the trail to Kokora and spend some time there. Okay, and go back to your size 32 trousers instead of the size 48 trousers. Now you don't walk with it. Come through, huh? Me talk like help me, please. So some thinking, ah. Now one advise me like him, fellow governors for me. Me realize him also, you can create him what they call bureaus. Bureaus for your provincial government, and we've done that. And we created the Bureau of Environment and Conservation. And in fact, when we brought it to DPLG, they were quite shocked. They said, no, you can't do this. Then they took it to the Attorney General's office and they cleared it and said, no, you can. Whereby we can now manage what activities are undertaken in our province insofar as the environment and conservation of our natural resources are concerned. And this is to complement the 90 million kina project up in Managlas, the largest environmental conservation project in the country that we are fortunate to host. We now want to go towards creating the Minerals and Energy Bureau so that we can have greater oversight over what is happening in our province and district insofar as minerals and energy is concerned. Yes, we're a poor province, but we're the largest nickel cobalt holdings in the world, and we will be having a say as to what happens to the development of those resources on behalf of our people, as well as what's going to happen offshore in Buna with our oil and gas. We're looking forward to that. Right now, we are just paupers. We watch and we say our time will come. But we're also putting in place the instruments and the the mechanics to ensure that we control the development of our resources, and therefore we are able to structure our future, not just be mere spectators. Thank you through Marape Rosso government. Prime Minister, you have kept your word, and I will continue to hold you to account from time to time about this, that the provincial governments must be strengthened. And finally, I want to say something in regards to a recent research that's been carried out by an organization called the Constitutional Law Reform Commission. Chairman is here. He's a great guy. He's doing great work. But, Chairman, you need to watch what your guys are doing. They went and carried out a survey, for instance, a very confusing survey. And in this survey, they consulted all the 4 regions, and they asked them about the different tiers of government as to whether they wanted to keep the current provincial government system or do away with it. About 90 to 80% of the regions, all the regions, unilaterally voted 80% to retain the provincial government system. But your organization came out and made a recommendation that the provincial government system should be done away with. How did this happen? Chairman, I insist you go and you ask your technocrats. Only one can walk here. What's the purpose of conducting a survey if you're not going to listen to the results? Thank you.
Honourable Member of Lumadang.
Speaker. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like the opportunity to contribute to today's debate on these important amendments. First, I'd just like to add some remarks to my colleague, Governor for East Sepik, concerning Angram. He is correct that Angram is 17,000 square kilometers. However, its population is only 98,000. So, while we talk about the size of an LLG in a district as it relates to provincial and local level government, we don't provide service to tree and mountain. We provide services to people. So one important factor that needs to be considered, not only the size of an electorate, but its population and where that population is residing. Some electorates are large, but everyone resides in one corner. So while Western Province, North Fly, before the amendments or new electorate was 44 1,000 square kilometers, but its population is only within the 60 to 70,000. In comparison, Goroka, total size of Goroka electorate is only 300 kilometers, not 1,000, 300, but its population is over 100,000. So I note the amendments raise the issue concerning local level governments, in principle where they would apply within an electorate. Now that's important, and I commend the Minister for bringing this amendment. However, I noted that the recent amendments to these new electorates, some of them left out an entire LLG. We have sections in our country that don't even exist in an LLG or district. We must be the only country in the world where we left out sections of our country under these new reforms. We have new electorates where they operate in different electorates. For example, the Motokotabu electorate, where it is spread over mostly west, east, and south. And this government created a new electorate where they are in 3 different electorates. But when they did the boundary, they only put it in 1 electorate. What kind of amendments are these? If we're going to talk about amendments, then we need to start following the law. And I looked into that report, which I had, for record, opposed in NEC, that they didn't even follow the constitutional process to bring in these new amendments, which is a requirement to display the maps. And because no maps were displayed, they just made up boundaries and left out parts of our own country. So I asked the good minister responsible provincial local level governments, before some of us bring our own court case to have these amendments thrown out, to make corrections. Other amendments concerning city authorities, determination of service function responsibility. I commend the minister, but there are many roles and responsibilities under the existing DDA that need to be addressed. For instance, it provides that the minister will determine service delivery. I went to a leadership tribunal, and the question was, well, did the minister declare what service delivery? No. And when we checked with the department, there was no declaration done. So we are left guessing, well, what's the function? Another issue concerning LLGs and DDAs, it states that allowances for members of DDA shall be determined by SRC and shall be no more than the allowance set by Provincial Assembly. So when I inquired how much is Provincial Assembly, no one seems to know, because they are all different versions. And recently I understand there was a SRC determination to pay an acting chairman 50% of a member's pay. When you are LLG and you appointed acting chairman of a DDA, all DDA members, even members of parliament, we only get, well, my district only gets 200 kina. I don't know how a LLG president is going to get 50% of a salary of a member of parliament. He is not a member of parliament. So why would he be entitled to 50% of our pay? He doesn't go to the electorate. He's an LLG president. Now the duration correction concerning LLG elections. This is long overdue. So the current law states that LLG elections shall either be concurrent with the current national election, or no more than 3 months after the issue of writ, which means if the elections are returned in August, no later than January. Now we are making it midterm elections, which is good, because the last 2 LLG elections were made history under these 50 years that we don't even follow the law. We have been breaking the law, and LLG presidents have been serving 7 to 8 years only in PNG. So this will make it legal, but the question is, will we even declare elections on the correct date that we are supposed to declare? Okay, moving on to other amendments proposed. While I acknowledge that the ministers brought in constitutional amendments guaranteeing the SIP, when we pass an appropriations bill, it is already a law, it is already guaranteed. That's not the problem. The problem is actually paying the money. Now, if we are getting cash flow problem now, and we are not receiving our full DSIP, and we are close to 5 months, 4 months now, and some districts have only received 2 million or 1 million or 3 million, then what's the point of putting it in the law when you're not even following the law? And then we'll talk, sorry, no got money. So now, when you don't pay and you say no money, then you breach the Constitution. So who do we hold accountable for not complying with the Constitution? So I wish to bring that to the attention of the minister. It's good to put it in the law. Law and paper, nothing, until someone enforced the paper. Then law, it got meaning. The issue concerning appointments of provincial administrators. Now, this is a controversial issue because sometimes you get a good provincial governor and sometimes you don't. So when you get a good provincial governor and NEC appoints a good PA, no problem. The problem is sometimes you get a good governor and not so good ministers supporting a good PA that would work with him. And then you have cases where you have a bad governor. Well, under these amendments, a bad governor will appoint his own PA. Therefore, he controls the entire province, and which will affect every district, because the PA appoints your DA, and he controls under the law every public servant, and control him. So that's my concerns regarding this. We have to factor. You want to change the law, you got good plan and no good. So if we have a problematic provincial government, because the PEC, governor, Wante Molele president, Wante Manlo place. So therefore, governor has full control. Whatever he says, working decision. Now, if it's a good governor, he will appoint a good PA. We know that issue. My problem is when it's not a good governor, and how it will affect all us, all district members, and DDA believe me. On the issue concerning ward reports, I think I'm long to be finished. So, thank you through, and I commend the bill.